Hello there, everybody. I've started this just a couple of seconds early to sage the area and let you know that I'm cleansing the space, calling upon all of the ancestors, guides, ancestral knowledge, ancient wisdom, all the realms of divinity that can be here with me, and whomever chooses to be in this space, please protect it and bring it to healing. And so, we're going to talk about, in a couple of seconds, we're going to talk about, and give a chance for anybody that might want to scoot in here to get in here. Generally, whenever I start, though, I'm going to start because I don't edit stuff out. So if you want to skip this, I'll try to remember to tag in when we're actually starting. But basically, what I'm here to talk about is, so get on your knees, butt-nekked please. You owe me an apology. I don't owe you an apology. Do I really owe you an apology? Boy, that's the worst. Yeah, let me stop futzing around with my little smudging thing. Let me stop futzing around with that. Get myself situated very properly as it's going to be. Let's be honest. I'm kind of winging it, but I'm singing it, so I'm bringing it. Okay, so we're officially going to go ahead and let's start talking about some uncomfortable topics, because that's what I do. I'm like Team Tower, okay? That's basically who I work for, is the cosmic whatever, and I play a position of Team Tower. I play Team Divinity, Team Right, Team Light, Team, yeah, please stop this, okay? That's who I work for, with, probably leaning way towards, sorry, I'm having techno issues, try not to notice, leaning very much into the Ascension category, starseed light worker. However, I don't like to land there, get stuck, and start identifying there, because people lose their minds and forget the real important stuff, which is, since we are marching towards higher consciousness, let's get to the busy work, which is my part, and where I can help the most is, let's get to the busy work of how can we change the system and deal with those changes as it's morphing and changing, and we're morphing and changing. How can we embrace that change, deal with it, not run away from it, and move forward so that we can actually get into that higher consciousness. The planet's going there. Whether everybody on the planet knows it or not, we are going. We're being pushed there. We're being brought there, dragged there. Some of us walk there voluntarily, or we, ride there. We're taken hostage. Nope, we're sure not taken hostage to Divinity. That's not how we're taken there. We're taken some other places, though, and that's what I want to talk about. That when we are taken hostage, so to speak, what do we do when we have that resultant anger, when we realize I've been had, or whatever, something bad happened, and what am I going to do about that? Because ultimately, it doesn't matter what kind of light worker, starseed, or brilliant baby that you are. If you're beautiful, loving, and kind, most of the time, but there's a spot, and I'm holding it. I shouldn't put it out there as you, and I'm not going to. If I'm holding a spot inside me that I just don't even want to try to forgive, I don't want to try to deal with whatever anger there might be, or whatever, because we are feeling it. You can see it around the world right now, and this is a timeless message, so it works no matter whether you see it the day that is live or you see it 30 years from now. The message is going to be the same, because it has been the same historically through time, that the world will not operate like this long term. And so we can knock out a whole lot of argument right off the top and just say, if we're going to have a discussion about the Earth's need for some immediate healing, then this probably isn't your venue, because you won't be interested more than likely in what I have to say about that. Because the friction that comes and the damage that we're doing to one another, when we take our eye off of why I'm here, when I take my eye off of why I'm here, I get very super angry. And I didn't understand that for the longest time, because I didn't understand what I was about. And I'm not going to get too much into it, just to say that Ascension, 5D, consciousness, higher consciousness, starseeds, things like that, that's my venue. And I go through astrology and oracle work and all kinds of energy work to arrive where I arrive. And I don't follow any particular doctrine. I just know my own process, and I know what I'm given downloads about, and I'm told share, then I share it, regardless of whether my throat chakra decides it wants to and whatever's happening. Because when there's someone in the light that's speaking about that, anybody that's not, that wants to throw their hate forward, they're going to. Okay, so I know that when I come into these scenarios that I could possibly be setting myself up for, these attacks and what have you. And I'm gonna just be bold and tell you, it doesn't work. It's not getting in and it isn't happening, because that's the mission of the people that are here to do that kind of work, whether they identify with a particular label or not. And me personally, I'm all about bringing community together, baby. Because the community that I grew up in broke apart. It was a bad paradigm, and it still is. I mean, not just my family, that's that paradigm. The old paradigm is leaving. And to those that just don't understand it, don't want to understand it, don't believe it, groovy, except that that's where we're going, and it's going to be brutally nasty, continue to escalate and be nasty, unfortunately, for those that refuse to step into higher consciousness, higher thought, or something more than just a guzzle and go, grab and growl experience. We're just not going to do that anymore. Earth warriors are going to really need to step into their game, and they are, and I'm not even an Earth warrior. I stand for saving planet Earth. However, my concentration isn't specifically there. It's to work with people about, got to get rid of these anger issues, got to get rid of these unforgiveness, unwilling, I ain't gonna, and I'm gonna poke you in your eye if because we're constantly triggered. So what do we do when we've stepped over the line, or somebody stepped over the line with us? What do we do, and how can we make that not turn into the ongoing nightmare that it has turned into in a lot of people's lives? And when it goes there, how can we make that, back that out and not have that be quite so horrible, and then prevent any more in the future? Well, the first thing is that you have to know that you've been crossed, that you've had your boundary breached, that your perimeter has been, somebody's come over your perimeter. You have to know that. You have to know that you're entitled to have a perimeter. You have to know that it's okay for you to say no at the right time. And when is the right time? Well, that's interesting. So it doesn't really matter, but when you finally do, that it does matter. Sorry, it does matter. It doesn't matter in this application, because that's not the end of the angle that I'm looking at. I'm looking at, how are you going to deal with it once you do realize that your border's been crossed and something unpleasant has happened? How do you deal with that? What do you do? And where do you go with all of that information? Most of us, we didn't really learn a good way to discharge all of that icky energy. And we, walk around with a lot of medicine in our medicine cabinet, and a whole lot of very interesting driving techniques and communication techniques and hand gestures and sign language. And we get into all kinds of stuff. And then we start doing stuff that's way more dastardly. And, most of us have a story that we'd just rather not have to be able to repeat, that of awful that's happened to us. And some of us even have that we wish we hadn't done to others. I know I do. I sure wish I hadn't done that. And so going back and saying, I'm sorry, might be that I need to understand that I muffed it. And I also might need to understand that somebody else muffed it. They might be different occasions, and they're not mutually exclusive. So someone may muff it with me, and I need to understand that right away. If I do not understand that right away, it's going to take a minute. If I muff it with somebody else and I don't understand, it's their job, not my codependent self. It's not my codependent ass's job to tell you I'm sorry preemptively for what I've done that's probably offended you, because I just offend you because I'm alive. I'm sorry. That's codependency. When I don't recognize that I've stepped over your boundary, that, my friend, is yours to tell me, hey, Kate, that was kind of, can we talk about that? That's how that works. That's how grown-up people do it. And it's what's required, because we don't have any more resources for people to shoot each other and kill each other and, do nasty stuff. There's just not any more time. So there's that, is knowing when to make that apology move. And I would say early. If you're in doubt, pray about that, think about that, sit with your favorite stuffed animal, or I don't know, take a walk in nature, whatever it is that brings you to that centered place that's not triggered, of how to respond and how to know when to respond. Okay? Second thing is, when you finally know that, I gotta go, and either say, I'd really like to talk about that really hurt my feelings, or, that you're gonna go and say, wow, I'm pretty sure I hurt your feelings. I need to apologize and make amends. We either might not have the stones to do that. And so we run away from it and just say, never mind. Never admitting, of course, that it was out of fear. It was, that was dumb or whatever. Okay. That's the first thing, is you gotta have the stones to do it. And then once you gather up those stones, it's best to not go in with too many lofty expectations of what's going to happen on that. Okay. Because you know, I may have wronged someone. I have wronged someone, and I have an expectation about how I'm going to go and apologize, and they're going to accept it, and everything's going to be peachy. It may not. People might be angry enough or hurt enough or whatever enough to hold a grudge and not take the high road. They might even take the opportunity to make that their low road debut or their next showing of. You have to be super duper careful. And that's why I call in all the protection that's already here. I just need to remind myself that, oh yeah, that's just always here. And don't get caught up, you know, sticking slow somewhere, being stuck stupid in an old paradigm that doesn't work. So when you know it has to be done, do it early and do it well and do it strategically and well protected so that you don't walk into a bear trap. That's just ridiculous. So there's a lot of ways to do that, and I'm going to continue talking about it on my channel, of course, because that's what I'm here to do. So if you're interested, please, by all means, leave comment, leave question, whatever, or just search. Let your own guidance tell you, this is where I need to go, this is what I can do. Because when you go with the expectation that, hey, I think I'm going to go apologize finally, and we get the stones and we do it, it can really crush our world when we don't get that response that we think we deserve. And we think we deserve it because we do, probably, when we've truly been affronted and we're expecting an apology, or we want to make an apology because they know that you know that they deserve it. It can be quite devastating not to get the rosy conclusion and resolution to that, oh, you know, I thought that was going to end better. That can really cause a lot of problems. I mean, seriously destabilizing ones. I know that from personal experience. That, what do you mean you're not accepting my apology? You know, you're supposed to. That's the way that goes. Jesus said it. Buddha said, I mean, didn't you catch the memo on that? I mean, you know, it seems reasonable. Some people are not in that space that they're going to take your apology no matter what you do, and they will beat your ass long enough and hard enough that you may reconsider your position. So really strategically do those moves and do them well. And please don't avoid them, because we need healing, and healing happens with honesty and forgiveness. And forgiveness can't happen unless there's honesty. You know, there cannot be forgiveness unless we all go, okay. And we admit, when there's that power differential of I've done something terrible over you, and then you're going to want to become the boss of that, that's just struggling in a paradigm that's trying to die. And it's not going to help if we keep chucking people out or finding a reason to separate. They don't deserve to be here. There are people that don't deserve to be in my orbit because they don't behave well. Okay? Criminals don't belong in my orbit because they don't behave well. I'm okay with saying that there are just certain people that I need to be very discriminating about. And I'm going to say vampire, that I'm going to be super duper 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 discriminating about. An energy vampire, I certainly am. Anybody that's going to want to usurp all of me or eat me alive, even when I'm trying to do the right thing, okay, that's fair. So I can assume that if it's not my work to do with that person, it's not my work to do with that person. It does not, however, negate my need to do that work regardless. Okay, whether I have an audience or not, whether I have a willing participant on the other side, because the willing participant that is always there to ride is divinity within me, my higher consciousness, my higher self, my teams, whatever anybody else calls that, my spiritual advisors in me. They do know, and they expect me to do the right thing regardless. It's not a goody two-shoes thing. That's my mission here on earth, is you better walk the walk that you're talking, because otherwise everybody has a reason to go, yeah, and excuse me, yeah, I have my own glitches in my own body, and I deal with the same ascension symptoms and garbage that everybody else does. I pay, you know, taxes just the same, and I have to feed my cat, and, you know, cats, you know, and deal with the death of one of them just a few days ago. So, you know, it isn't that I don't know pain. I've known pain, a lot of it, and been abandoned, and the whole sad story, and I made my way out of that. And I want other people that are doing it to those like me or others, and even to those, I mean, anywhere there's that major, that I want those people to stop, and I want them to know you don't have to do that anymore. Now, I'm not going to go kiss every little criminal on their forehead and tuck them in and say it'll be all right, because their team knows what they need. I just know that the people that I'm here to help and work with and teach, they're the ones that will want to know. They won't be too humble to get on your knees, skip the butt naked, please. I'm not going to get on my knees and get butt naked, please, because I wouldn't ask anybody else to do that. I do ask them to be humble. And when we come in with a lack of respect, that's not humble. See, respect is humble, knowing what your work is and knowing what you're doing. Humble and a doormat are not the same thing. I would consider Jesus was a humble man, and I don't think he was a doormat. So on that note, because this is going to shoot up into regular viewing, I'm going to go ahead and stop now at before 15 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. Take care of yourself and get into your divine. Get in your skin, get within, because your juicy's inside, your divine, absolutely fine. See you next time. Bye, friends.